is the ultimate test of leadership.
The crisis does not warn you, it just strikes.
Today, we want to unpack how leaders can turn adversity into moments of power.
Wherever you approach any situation as a leader in a crisis, in a way that is going to generate fear in any case, it erodes value.
We are joined by Paul Musasizi, who is the CEO of Kiira Motors Corporation.
Kiira Motors Corporation is about vehicles made in Uganda. The confidence that you're doing what you promised to do.
Crisis is the ultimate test of leadership. Today, we want to unpack how leaders can turn adversity into moments of power. We are joined by Paul Musasizi, who is the CEO of Kiira Motors Corporation. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you, Shamim.
How have you been?
Great. How about you?
Good, thank you. Now, Paul, you are leading a team that is doing extraordinary things. Especially that you are the only vehicle manufacturer, the first one of its kind in Uganda. There are a lot of things that you're doing that are revolutionary. And I think that it's important for us to first of all understand who is Paul? who is this big man behind these great things? Help us understand. Who are you?
Perhaps it would be overstated to say the big man behind
okay.
great things. Certainly, at Kiira Motors Corporation, we are doing groundbreaking work.
Yes.
And I'm using the operating word "we" because there is a diverse team with a very wide spectrum of skills, competencies, and also really the aptitude towards what we do.
Yes.
And this is what enables us to translate dreams into actions and ultimately results. I'm privileged to be the team leader at Kiira Motors Corporation, a founding member as well of Kiira.
Yes.
We can call it the Kiira Initiative.
Yes.
Because away from the company, we are establishing an industry. We are digging deeper into the upstream aspects of the mobility industrial value chain, which speaks to not only mobility itself, which represents being able to move people, and we are looking at how do we innovate, we are looking at how do we industrialize, and we draw on energy, which powers the mobility systems, and also technology to be able to piece the different, to connect the different pieces together. Paul Musasizi, I am, who am I?
It's one of those questions that when you open up the can, you're thinking, oh, actually, who am I?
You think, and sometimes without sounding blasphemous, I remember Jesus Christ was asked, who am I? And said, I am the I am.
I know.
So maybe simply put, I am Paul Musasizi. But a few things that could be used to characterize or define me professionally. I'm a mechanical engineer by training from Kiira University. I worked in the academia for about 1.5 decades, working closely with Kiira University and Chambogo University. With a bit of focus in engineering, mathematics, systems engineering, things related to computing and software engineering. Those were my core areas of work in both Kiira University and Chambogo University for about 1.5 decades. From the time I graduated as an undergraduate with my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. That was 2002 actually, so we are looking at about 2 decades.
We are not judging. That's something that is happening lately. People are saying that they listen, but they don't judge.
Absolutely, you listen, but you don't judge.
Yes.
What else can I say to say who I am? Maybe from a character point of view, I strive to make my word a living word. The things that I say should be the things that I mean.
That is powerful.
And ultimately, the focus from within me is as a leader, trying to do things at scale and build real massive ecosystems, because that's what we stand out for as Kiira Motors Corporation. The foundation of that is trust. So in whatever I'm doing, I'm saying, what do I put down in order for me to be trusted by the stakeholders I'm working with, starting with my team, because if they don't trust me to lead them, then they will not follow me. You'll say, let us go this way, and they move in the other way. So primarily, I don't know whether I have answered the question, but I think I've put a few nuggets that can help someone get an appreciation.
I think it helps us, and I like that you talk about trust, because given that you are revolutionizing what mobility is in this country, starting something that has never been experienced in a place requires a lot of trust.
Absolutely.
Because we as the citizenry are asking ourselves, am I really making the masses, right? And so, and I'm privileged that I've been able to experience some of the milestones that the team has hit, for you to be able to transcend across East Africa as well, and seeing that the product of Kiira Motors Corporation is actually felt on the African continent. I think that's really, really powerful, that then trust becomes the cornerstone.
Absolutely.
But on the other side as well, I look at the industry within which you're in is highly mechanical, meaning that elements of health and safety standards, safeguarding, those are core and very, very important in your operations. Now, when we think about crisis, we think about in our personal lives. You know, you could be heading somewhere and a border hits your car. You're already in a crisis.
Absolutely.
Right? Right? In our personal situations, perhaps someone says no to you over something that you are expectant of, it's already a crisis. But I want us to approach crisis from a perspective of where you sit as an industry. There are situations, and especially like we say, you are revolutionizing this environment of e-mobility in our country. And so there are a lot of things that will go wrong. Perhaps because they haven't been tested before. And so you have to give space for you to test things, and there will be moments of failure. Now, I want us to focus on how do we distinguish leadership from a perspective of when you are experiencing a crisis, and then those who actually falter. Because I think that a moment of crisis determines our character.
Absolutely.
A lot more. What do you think distinguishes leaders who experience crisis and come out strong, and those that falter from it?
Perhaps a good way to perspect this conversation is starting from the three core attributes of a crisis. So a crisis is disruptive in a way that it interrupts a business continuity. There is an operation which is faulted, and it cannot continue the way it is continuing normally. But also within that, there is urgency, because things may be interrupted, but it has just been interrupted. You've been watching a movie and the internet is off. That is not a crisis.
Trust me, depends who is seeing what. It has been a crisis in some spaces.
So the urgency for you to act in light of that event that has interrupted an operation. And then, of course, the pressure on the stakeholders. So how do leaders rise to be leaders who perhaps translate a crisis into an opportunity to strengthen their leadership in the marketplace, or others who really feeble and even escalate the crisis into a very big critical situation. I think on the issue of the interruption itself, and then the stakeholders, that's where really the stakeholders, people are trusting you to deliver a certain service. You need to sit down and establish the scale of the actions required for you to restore the service or the operation to a status of normalence. If it's something that you're going to do without the stakeholders noticing that there was even, a crisis, you go right ahead and fix it. But most of the time you may want to, the Mendeleev power interest matrix. You may want to inform someone, because again, it's about trust. In the middle of a crisis, are people going to trust you? That is where it all begins. So certainly there are people who are affected because they consume a service. It may be important that some of them, if you identify your stakeholders, and there are those ones who must be informed because they have power, they have interest. So the question is, have you informed these people of what you're dealing with and how you're dealing with it? Not to get them panicked and so on and so forth, but should things go further down the drain, at least they knew that something was happening. And then pulling your resources. Most of the time when you're dealing with a crisis, you're not going to deal with it alone. You need to draw your teams to be able to act and act right, and also to prioritize, because the crisis does not warn you. It just strikes. If you knew it was going to happen, then that is not a crisis. It's something which you saw happening, and maybe out of negligence, you let it happen. But usually this one just happens out. Midnight, something has happened, You need to rise to the occasion and solve this issue. So how have you been, bringing your team to that point of trust that when you call someone, some of my colleagues at work, if I called Elias at 2 a.m., I know he will not ask questions. He's going to get up, jump into his car, and come. And do what is expected to do.
So it's about really getting the understanding of where you are as well.
Absolutely. Getting the understanding of where you are, but building trust within the stakeholders that can really restore the system to a position where you would want it to be. It may not be to total restoration, but at least getting it to a point where things can be back to people consuming the basics of the service. So for me, again, it gets back to, how do we distinguish between leaders who translate a crisis into an opportunity to be leaders and those ones who falter? How do you build trust? The way you build trust with the stakeholders is what is going to matter, because then the pressure, in physics, pressure is force over area, meaning that the wider the area, the less the pressure, because the force, so the wider the area. So the more people who should know about what you're dealing with, and you trust that it's well-intentioned, and you've informed them and they understand what you're dealing with, the less the pressure on you. If you are alone and you're dealing with all of that force, then the pressure may actually get you backling.
And it sounds like now communication is very key also in that kind of interaction. So are you then saying that communication is very central, in terms of those who are able to navigate the pressure environments and get value from it? Because I think that also one of the things we struggle with, you find teams that are segmented. One team is aware, another one doesn't know, another person is saying a different thing. So it looks like we have to take collective responsibility in ensuring that that happens. But now I want us to focus on now, for you as Kiira Motors Corporation, you're a state-owned enterprise, right? For us as the citizens, we demand a lot from you. No doubt you have made us really, really proud to be Ugandan.
Thank you.
And I say thank you to the Kiira Motors team from the bottom of our hearts, because I believe that also from a perspective of where we see things, we want our country to develop. If you look into our development agenda, it's very central that infrastructure, transport is also key. When we talk about sustainability conversations, going into e-mobility is one of the cores into driving into that direction. But now, from a space where you are, there are moments you've talked about trust a lot more. That we can have mistrust, for example, among stakeholders, and stakeholders could also be political leaders, that is citizenry, other people who could potentially consume the product, and perhaps also us who are well-wishers and non-well-wishers, right? And obviously from that perspective, there could be a lot of pressure, because now you depend on the state to fund the initiatives of the corporation. In moments when the stakes are high, how do you keep calm? And I want you to reflect on moments, for example, when you have to sit and defend the budget, other areas of the initiatives, the development of the initiatives and the processes and other stakeholders involved in that process.
Yeah.
How do you stay calm in that process?
Certainly, I think the first thing, of course, rightly said, as a state enterprise or state-owned enterprise, the citizens are the ones who are financing Kiira Motors Corporation and the wider mobility, innovation and industrialization initiatives, which we believe will create a lot of opportunity, and that's why we are pushing, whether value addition or employment. But that also means that your stakeholder base is very diverse. You're literally accountable to a person you find on the street and they say, "You're from Kiira Motors Corporation." So you're the guys.
Yes.
Yeah, and we need to be able to continuously demonstrate that the deployment of the resources invested by the citizens in Kiira Motors Corporation is meaningful, and rightfully said, that places pressure from so many perspectives, and I will speak to three of them. One of them is the timeliness of the results. The work we are doing is pretty much like growing something. You prepare the garden, you plant, you either water or natural rain falls, and then you weed, and then at a certain time, depending on what it is, if it's tomatoes, maybe 4 months you're harvesting. So one of the pressures we continuously try to manage is communicating that it is a process. It is a process, and it is organic. And how do you stay calm when results are being demanded now? Resources have been voted. How many vehicles are out there on the road, and you say, this is not in the numbers. This is in the process which at a certain time will ultimately scale, but it doesn't scale as you start. It doesn't scale in 1 year. It doesn't scale perhaps even in a decade when we look at other bigger businesses. So under that particular dimension, how do you stay calm? I think for me, one important aspect of what enables us to stay calm and keep focused is the confidence that you're doing what you promised to do. Yeah, if you said you're going to construct a plant, you're constructing the plant. Yes,
we have seen the plant. we are not questioning anymore. We have seen the plant. Yes, absolutely.
If you said we are going to deliver, Model 2024 of the Kayola electric coach, which is an icon on the African continent in terms of e-mobility. You've delivered Model 2024 of the Kayola e-coach. Then irrespective of the questions, rightfully so, because some of these results are not moving so fast enough. The messages don't, go fast enough for everyone to see or to even appreciate what that represents. So people certainly have questions, and these questions present pressure, but at the back of your mind, you know that you've done what you said you should do. And that the numbers add up. Then you can go and focus on doing what you should do. And once you get an opportunity to engage stakeholders, then certainly you're able to explain to those you could explain. But also, the other aspect we are doing as a corporation is, because, calmness or dealing with pressure in light of a crisis environment is all about having that platform when you're sure that things are what they should be. So resourcing the right talent, bringing in the right people. So like now I'm here, but all over this Christmas period, we have had teams all over the place. I'm in China, some crossing different countries on the continent, within Uganda, because we have clients who are consuming our services. We have partners we are working with. And you can't be everywhere, but that the people who have been assigned responsibilities
Yes.
are actually doing the right thing. They understand the mission, they understand the vision. Now, there is the other aspect also of now dealing with the technical. I tend not to want to use the word technical because even if you're a poet, poetry is technical stuff to the poet, not so. But dealing with our technical core comes with a lot of uncertainty. You go in, for example, to put the tire on the bus, something as simple as that. But when you go to put the tire on the bus, you find that the disc has a few issues you have to deal with. Or it's a wiring issue because most of our buses current generation technology, they are Internet of Things integrated and capable. So you find that the sensors maybe have not been programmed and calibrated well. So you're not able to complete this task. Again, it goes back under those circumstances to having the right people doing what they should do, so that when they find that the left-hand sensor, because we are dealing with the world mainly is left-hand drive, so the steering is on the left hand. And Uganda is one of those very few countries in the world, I think it's under 14% of the countries where we drive on the right-hand side. So quite often as you resource parts and systems through your suppliers, the potential of a mistake, a bus has 70,000 parts. So 70,000 parts, mitwalo musanvu ezobutundutundu. So there is one part that may go wrong, and it could be a sensor that was misaligned. The left-hand sensor was mechanically, it goes in the left. But electronically, it has been wired or programmed to work on the right. And you said the systems are the things that just not responding. The door is going the other way. It's supposed to go out, it's trying to go inside. So under such circumstances, the relationships you build with your stakeholders, the suppliers, is going to be very important. And again, the foundation is trust. So that in light of a specification that has not been met, yes, you know that the supplier is in Germany. So it's going to take at least 4 weeks for them to turn around. The client is waiting. The vehicle cannot sit. You maybe it's even a spare part that you've sourced, and the client wants their vehicle back. But how do you ensure that your relationship with the suppliers and your clients is a solid relationship, so that no one of them for any minute interprets your inquiry or your engagement with them as something which is not based on really the actual thing you're dealing with, because the client will be saying maybe you're not telling them the truth. The supplier may be saying maybe you're not telling them the truth. So building relationships, quite often in government, you want to set things, and you want your suppliers to be meeting obligations, but that is not the practice. When you get down, the relationship with your suppliers has to be right, so that they can also prioritize you. The thing here, if I'm to use the colloquial language on the street today, negative energy never gets you any results.
It doesn't.
What negative energy does to you is that it creates fear. Fear upstream with your suppliers, fear downstream. So that someone even fears reaching out saying, hey, we thought things should have been this way. Fear. Actually, if there is an important statement I would like to make on this podcast today, is that fear erodes value. Fear erodes value. So wherever you approach any situation as a leader in a crisis, in a way that is going to generate fear in any case, it erodes value. Even if it's your team, now they start covering up things. And these things, at the end of the day, the client will know when they have covered up things which you could have solved if you had not generated fear within the team. So on the tech side, on the technical core, as Kiira Motors Corporation, we are intentionally trying to calibrate the culture in such a way that that person, that young lady who is the carpenter working those boards that sit in the floor of the bus, knows that they are our last line of defense on that issue. They are fully trusted to do their work. They are not operating from a point of fear. They know we will give them enough time to do what they have to do, irrespective of the fact that we have timelines to deliver what we are supposed to deliver, because fear, once it is generated. Now you even find that if people are fearing one person, you see, you've watched Lion King, the fear from Mufasa and those the hyenas, they will generate fear, and that's how the king was actually killed. Fear erodes value. They pushed the herds. The herds created chaos. The kingdom stayed without a king because of fear. So we want, as much as possible as leaders, even if you're in the middle of a crisis, what has happened has happened.
It's not going back.
How you respond to it is going to determine what happens next, thereafter. Whether you're going to send everyone panicking over nothing, or you're going to, allow people to continue thinking graciously and bring their A game to the situation, and then enable the team and the corporation to stay on track and move where they are going.
So meaning that then it challenges us to be also self-aware. Because a lot of the times, the people that we lead know us.
Very well.
And our communication, most of it is body language. So you could not say a word, but the look just tells everyone leave the room. So I think then we have that challenge to help us. But as you were talking about the technical elements, you talked about the technological advancements, the Internet of Things, and definitely today the conversation is artificial intelligence.
AI.
Today, we all want to take our time back. Now you are operating in an environment that is capital intensive from a perspective of resources, but also from a perspective of people. How do we manage timelines, for example, as well? So do you, and I would like to believe that you do, but let me ask the question. Do you and the team see artificial intelligence playing a big role in the way you operate in terms of efficiency, but also in the advancement of the delivery? Because like I said, you are doing something that has never been done. And also, you've told us you are the best in class. So we are holding you at a high standard. Because you put us at a standard where we also don't want to see less. So we have anticipation, we have expectation, we are actually following the standard that you have set. Does the team, does the leadership recognize that artificial intelligence can play a big role in smoothing the processes? And what is it that we are seeing?
So certainly, yes, that is the short version of the answer. And perhaps to widen this conversation, because when you're in industry today, you're looking at the wider continuum of industry 4+ tech, where artificial intelligence has a place, Internet of Things, big data, robotics, automation. So looking, for example, at the plant and choosing some of the technologies, we have, perhaps I could say arguably, the best body shop in the region. And of course, I must say that the Kiira vehicle plant is the biggest, most capable, and most competent bus manufacturing plant on the African continent. Now, our body shop, when we were choosing the take, because when you go out there to choose your machinery, there is a wide cocktail of levels of technologies you can pick from. You can pick things which are, small handy tools, what we call appropriate technology. If you want to cut things, you get a hacksaw and cut them. You'll cut one piece, perhaps in 2 days, depending on what you're cutting. So we were guided by the goals of productivity. Every man hour, you want to get out as much as possible. And then precision tooling. In order for us to do that, then we needed to choose technology that was, before you go to artificial intelligence itself, you needed to have technology that is pretty digital.
Yeah.
Digital in the sense that if you want to cut a mounting for the white pub-led arm in a square pipe, how many do you want to cut per hour?
Yes.
Yeah, so the tools we have, you take that drawing, which is the engineering specification.
Yes.
You enter it on the computer terminal, which is on the machine.
Okay.
You check it on this equipment itself. And then you're able to set, and it should be able to do for you 360 jobs of that cutting per hour. Every bus has 89 jobs of just that cutting, that round, area where you mount the wiper blade arm. So the focus was one on productivity. We want to be able to produce the right volumes.
Yes.
And secondly, precision tooling. Yeah. If you use the ordinary tools, you're going to have drill bits and you drill the holes through. Each of those holes will be with different tolerances. The boundaries will be traumatized and things. So you will not get the quality, and there will be a lot of rework, and every bus will be different.
Yes.
Now, AI is going to continuously play a very, very important role in our work, and it's already playing, because I see my colleagues in HR, in order for them to ensure that they have updated job descriptions, they are able to, you pick maybe some 3 benchmarks, you draft something, and then you ask these generative AI tools to help you match and compare. And so you can generate a draft, or for example a JD in under 2 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then work with the draft to ensure that things are going right. But even writing letters, if I'm writing a letter to His Excellency the President, I will tell these generative tools that, okay, I'm writing to His Excellency the President about ABC, please give me a draft, and then you start somewhere.
Absolutely.
So already you see, in terms of documentation, we are seeing right now as we speak, we are using a lot of AI tools to ensure that the quality of our documentation is good. And then the team also has where to start from, because we currently have 200 workers, and at full capacity these will be 2,000 working at the plant in Jinja. So if all of those ones you want to go and you go to the basics of this is how you write, this is how you do things. But once you know that you have these tools and you introduce them, so we are introducing our team on how to use generative AI. And that is a very good starting point. But ultimately, as we deploy our vehicles away from now dealing with the internal things, where we are also going to see how AI will play a role, but we want to be able to get all of this data. We are collecting a lot of data, energy consumption, mileage covered, incidents, so on and so forth. And all of this data we need to be able to develop business intelligence tools. And again, AI plays a very critical role in writing business intelligence tools, which can then help you see, for example, on our eBus Express, which clients, because we have different packages. Is it those ones who are using the pay go, so you pay, or you could call it pay as you go? When you're going here, you pay 1,000 shillings or 2,000 shillings. Is it those ones who are using the service more? How many of them who are returning? How many of those who are returning are male? How many of them are in this particular, demographics? So building those business intelligence tools, AI certainly is going to play a very critical role. And then that is how we will be able to run promotion services back to the people. But also, one of the biggest headaches in production is tracking the parts. 70,000 parts per bus. Now tracking them if you're not going to use certain level of technology and artificial intelligence,
yes,
if I'm to joke, you may produce a bus without
the different
without a steering system, and the client is the one who tells you that, oh, you forgot to put a steering. Of course, that will be daft.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do understand.
Yeah. So artificial intelligence is going to continue playing a critical role in design,
yes,
in engineering, in manufacturing, as well as in all of the support services around finance, legal, administration, and logistics within the plant. And this is going to help us. And even on the energy side, ensuring that we prioritize the right areas for deployment of charging infrastructure, we see artificial intelligence being a key aspect. And because of that, we have actually started formal training, taking some of our employees to do strategic programs in artificial intelligence, so that they can lead us and guide us.
Yes.
We cannot know everything, but if we
Absolutely,
have the right
yes.
people going to acquire the skills and knowledge, then we will know how to appropriately integrate this in our work streams.
So from a perspective of crisis, in whether it's what you've experienced in your operations for the time that you've been operating, like we said, it's an inevitable. At a certain point, it will happen.
Yeah.
Is there a moment of crisis that became a defining moment for you?
Yeah.
Can you share with us what that looks like?
We deal with many of these, but I will choose one.
Yes.
I think it may not be the biggest one we've dealt with, but you know, I'm choosing it because the product we are introducing is the electric vehicle. And the moment you say electric vehicle, many people start, you generate fear.
Yes.
What if it stops and runs out? So the questions are so many. What is this? What is that? So is it really cheap? Is it really emissions free?
Yes.
So we have one of our clients, Civil Aviation Authority. We move about 430 employees Monday to Friday, and about half that number over the weekend between Kampala and Entebbe. And we run this with the 7 buses deployed, 7 electric buses deployed every day. And then, of course, there is some reserve just in case. So these buses have to be fully charged every day. And the client relies on us to deploy every day. Now, that also means that our supplier of energy, the distribution company, which has been Umeme, I think now it will be UEDCL, the signal must be reliable. And I'm choosing the word reliable, not available all the time, but when we need to charge, we should be able
to charge,
to charge. So there was a time we had an interruption which took more than 48 hours. Now, usually when these interruptions happen, it's something that Umeme would really turn around and restore the signal, because we again built a relationship saying, we're introducing a service which people should trust. You don't want to call a client and let them know that we are not deploying today when they have already paid you. It's a mess. First of all, they will not trust electric vehicles because we can't run electric vehicles when we don't have electricity. So 48 hours is tough. Unfortunately, I know about the interruption a little bit late. Not that I would have done much, but of course, when I know, then you try to engage the stakeholders to find out whether they know predictable. And they were saying, we think the problem has become a little bit bigger than what we usually manage, but we think we will be turning around and giving. But we could not. You have 8 buses. Actually, at that time there was even another client, so you had 9 buses to charge. The smallest of these buses is 200 kilowatt hours. Now, a kilowatt hour is the unit you pay Umeme. So that is a lot of power. Kilowatt hour is a lot of power, but energy. So the smallest is 200, the others are 250, 300. and so on. So the whole mix of being able to charge all of these vehicles quickly, and now the client, 6 a.m. tomorrow needs to have buses running by 8 p.m. Uncertainty.
Wow.
So it became a crisis. The buses are not charged. It's 8 p.m., 6 a.m., you need to deploy 7 buses. The client has no alternative. Even if actually you told them that night that you're not deploying, it's going to be
it's a real crisis.
Plus the fact that you're introducing a product on the market.
Yes.
So certainly you get back to the team, because for you, a leader, you need the team to give you solutions. What are our options, colleagues?
It goes back to the transparency.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because the problem, they have told you the problem, but the problem is not enough. What are our options? And they're like, okay, you know, we could consider identifying a location where we can deploy another charger and charge the buses. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? It means that we need about 3 hours. 2 hours to evacuate a charger from Jinja, bring it to Kampala. 1 hour to set up test. But in those 3 hours, a lot of work is going on to talk to the leadership to ensure that, because the location is not ours. And the power we consume is not ordinary power. It's 3-phase power. And minimum, it should be at least a 200 kilowatt line. So I'm like, okay, that is the only certain option we have.
Yes.
It's 8 p.m. The engineers, the technicians have left work. They are at their homes.
Yes.
Again, it goes back within your team. Do you have enough people? Because this wasn't one-person operation. You need to tell the administrators to start talking to other administrators, meaning they should have relationships there where they are trusted to say, guys, we are delivering a charger. It's going to get here at 11 p.m. We need an electrician for that facility here to be able to help us set up safely. And on the other hand, you're organizing your people, the logistics people, because the vehicle which mounts and offloads is a specialized vehicle. So you need a special person, a special operator to operate that vehicle. So one of those operators also has to be booted out of their home. They have already delivered their 8-10 hours a day. And then you also have to get the engineers and the technicians who are going to install, then the operators who are going to charge, to work overnight to ensure that this thing is done. I went ahead and you call the head of charging infrastructure, say, okay, can you master your team to go and prepare the charger? Then you get to the logistics people. Do we have any operator who's available, not so tired because it's a night shift? Then you get this other side. Are you able to talk to your guys that side? Fortunately, they had identified at Nambole. We can deploy a charger there quickly. And by midnight, the charger had been deployed. The buses were charging. But again, I will tell you that under this circumstance, it is not an employer, it's not a boss-employee relationship. It is an issue of, do you trust?
Yes, absolutely.
There is no obligation for anyone there.
So trust is, so I think for you then you see that as a leader, the legacy you leave behind is the trust.
That's what
your stakeholders, which are your teams and the people that you work with.
Your clients. Your clients, can they trust you in the morning? We are told that our client that we are having challenges. We didn't have to tell them that employees are not going to work. 400 employees are not coming to the Entebbe airport. Maybe you will even end up closing the airport. So you see how, because there is a serious interruption, significant interruption. The urgency of the actions. The pressure.
Wow.
The pressure.
So one of the things, actually the key, the core of our conversation today that I have picked a lot is establishing trust.
Trust.
So thank you very much, because I believe that also there was a lot of mistrust for whatever reason. So today we have learned from you that trust is a key element when we are resolving crisis.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Paul, for joining us. And we wish you all the best in the new year for Kiira Motors Corporation. We are still waiting on the highest version of the EV. So as Ugandans, we are proud of you. We wish you all the best, and we know for sure that what you're doing is so different, and that we'll be able to also see and perhaps stand tall in other places and say, hey, we are proud of Ugandan.
We did the right thing.
Thank you very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having us here.
Yes.
And we look forward to continuing to deliver on this mission where we can only know a bit of where it is supposed to go.
Yes.
But that is okay, because I remember when I was a graduate student, we were taught research methods, and the professor, when he came to introduce research methods, she first posed the question, what is research?
Yeah.
And there are all so many definitions. Those days, it wasn't AI which would give us the answers. It was Wikipedia. Yes. So all of those very complicated. And it's sad, but guys, research is moving from the known into the unknown. At every point, you know something, you know many things you don't know.
Yes.
So right now, we know certain things to be where we are. And there is a lot that we know we need to know. Our commitment is that we will continue pursuing the unknown until there is more known in order for us to derive meaning as we serve the continent and beyond with the best-in-class mobility solutions.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, too.